Those 15 people that like walked out, they're coming back, right? They're coming? Okay. So I was told to stand behind the podium or I won't be on camera. So I want to move, but just know I'm not allowed to move. Just so you know. It's good to see so many familiar faces here. My name is Eric. I'm not an ESG person. I'm an architect. I hang out with a lot of ESG people, but don't hold that against me. And I'm not going to bury the lead here. Your clients and your stakeholders are working against you. They're not doing it maliciously, mind you. They don't even know they're doing it. And more specifically, I would say that their brain is working against you. Whether you realize it or not, you are all in the innovation business. And it turns out that innovation is hard. And I don't know about you, but when I walk into rooms, what I'm greeted with is, hey, just so you know, I hate sustainability. That's how people say hi to me when I walk in a room. I don't know if you get that, just me. And it's, I never know what to say. I always think, me too. I don't know, I don't know how to respond to that. And why are they doing this? Well, it turns out that their brains are literally wired against innovation, which is ironic because virtually every single executive wants innovation, needs innovation. They all claim it as a strategic priority. I give workshops where literally the Teams meeting says innovation meeting, right? So we're there to innovate, and we can't. And the thing that's stopping you is this little thing in the back of your brain called the amygdala, right? That's part of your limbic system. It's part of your fear center. They find innovation as a threat, essentially. And both on the neuroscientific and on the psychological side, it sees innovation as a threat. So what happens is their brains will literally throw up excuses and obstacles and roadblocks of why we can't do that. And the way it works is this. Let me know if you've ever heard these before. Well, our policy is that we've never done that before, and we tried that before 15 years ago, and it didn't really work, and the legal team probably won't let us do it anyway, and can you spend 6 months calculating the ROI and payback and life cycle assessment and then give us a report that we won't read? And let's form a committee and kick this can down the road a few more years. Sound familiar? Yeah. I call these shutdown phrases. This is their amygdala, this is their essentially amygdala reaction, and a better way to describe it is what I call frictions. And frictions create drag. They create heat. They stop you. And it only takes 1 or 2 frictions before you just don't do anything. Like just nothing happens. I'll show you how it works. Do you remember when electric cars first came out? We were told, oh, dude, you can't have electric cars because they're too quiet. That was in the Wall Street Journal, that we can't have electric cars because they're too quiet and dumb people might get run over, I guess. And what happens is they throw up these obstacles in the hopes that you will shut it down, and then you do. You shut it down, and you don't bother going around it. So about 10 years ago, I started thinking, what if I didn't shut it down? What if I just kept pushing? What if I held on to the tiger's tail while the tiger's fighting me, essentially? Right? Instead of just stopping at the first no, really push this. And you might be saying, well, Freed, you seem like a nice guy. Why would you do that? Why would you pressure your clients like that? Well, because I hate to break this to you, but we have failed. The modern environmental movement has failed. This is very hard for me to accept after 35 years in this industry, but I have no other way to describe it. We failed on a global level. We ended up in the exact spot we did not want to be. And I'm not just talking about whatever the hell this is. I mean, we failed in a way. Do you like that? By the way, I call this Breakfast of Champions. I mean, we failed in a global way in that we were told for decades, we were telling people, there is a line and we cannot cross it. And last year, we crossed it. We failed. There's no other word for it. In my industry, less than 0.023% of buildings are net zero buildings. The goal was all of them. I'd say that we missed our KPI, is what I would say. And it's not like people are surprised by this. We used to get 20 big catastrophic events a decade, and now we get hundreds in a year. Right? This thing is escalating. Virtually all of your stakeholders have experienced this. If you don't believe me, have you seen all the new weather? That we had to invent words for weather. Right now, we're getting an atmospheric river. We never had that when we were kids, right? But that's a normal thing, a snowpocalypse. Okay, bring it on. I don't care. And this is now no longer anecdotal. This is real, right? Kids born today will face 7 times more heat waves, twice as many wildfires, and 3 times as many droughts as their grandparents. We're seeing this happen in real time. We're watching videos of houses collapse in real time. And this is affecting our clients now, today, and they know it is because they're calculating it. One of our clients is the SUNY system. It's the largest public integrated health system, education system in the country. It's bigger than the UC system in California. 64 campuses. It's like $27 billion in economic output. They told us that they're spending $10 million a year just to keep up with climate change. Not to get ahead of it, not to advance it, just to deal with it, deal with the repercussions. And so it's already costing them money. So my mindset has changed. I imagine yours has as well, but in the last few years it's really changed from this mitigation mindset into this adaptation brace for impact mindset. It turns out that we are spending about $16 million an hour dealing with the effects of extreme storm damage. $16 million an hour every hour for the last 20 years. And I know that seems like an insane amount of money. That's like Elon money, right? That's just a crazy amount of money, but it's nothing compared to the $10 million a minute that we're spending subsidizing the fossil fuel companies that are causing the damage, which is, as Alanis Morissette would say, ironic. Oh, you like that? Really? I just wrote that. So we failed. I don't have any other word for it. That's the way I describe it. And it reminds me of this Vonnegut quote that he says, we will go down in history as the first society that wouldn't save itself because it wasn't cost effective. So it's so weird to have conversations around money when clearly there's money to be had. And I know this is depressing. Look at your faces. You were all so happy before I got on stage. I know. And if it helps you like just relax a little bit, can I distract you with some of the wonderful television that's available? Because there's some amazing, have you seen The Diplomat season 3? It's amazing, right? It's great, yeah? I'm not in it, you don't have to clap. But, so it's very easy to get distracted. So I want to give you some good news just to cheer you up. First of all, solar's dead. Solar's been dead. It hit peak oil in 2003 and has remained flat ever since. Coal is dead. It used to be 60%, now it's 15% of our consumption supply. Building efficiency keeps moving. Not as much as I'd like, but still, 18% in the last 20 years, 10% in residential. Now, mind you, that was while we were building 70 billion square feet at the same time, so that kind of makes it a little more impressive. The coal numbers are a little better, right? 51% reduction, because now we started measuring it. So that's kind of amazing. And the U.S. Energy Code is adopting. Of course, the coasts are being cool, and the weirdos in the middle are doing whatever they do. But that's, you know, eventually it's raising a rising tide for all boats. By the way, that joke did not do well in Nebraska. It really fell flat in Nebraska. Anyway, and then so we're really pushing electrification on every building, including healthcare, even though it has sterilization needs. And I would say we're ready now. Our biggest limitation are the utilities. And I don't know if you're finding that, because they're like, we don't have any more power to give, which is like, well, just, you know, do better. You know, so, and then mass timber, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, is the really only scalable zero carbon structural solution that we have, and it is about to really explode rather quickly. And solar is booming because it's dropped 99.7% in my lifetime. Can you name one other thing that has gone down 99.7% in cost? Anywhere? No. It went from $131 a watt to 31 cents a watt just in my lifetime, which is why, by the way, 96% of the additions to the grid last year were all renewables. Virtually no fossil fuels at all. That to me should be an amazing story. And all of our clients have commitments. All of you have commitments. We have commitments, right? Every one of our clients has commitments, and these are just the SBTI ones. There's plenty of others out there. So you are in the innovation business, whether you realize it or not, whether you like it or not, you are, and you are the heroes of the story. But we are not here to break the budget. We are not here to ruin the schedule. We are here to make the project better, I hope. And I think our mindset has been kind of off with that. Because think about how we normally sell sustainability and all the fear, shame, and guilt that normally comes along with it, of like, hey, is it okay if I make the building better? And they're like, no. And you're like, sorry to bother you. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody. I get it, but I'm done. You know, the thing with frictions is that it makes heat, and people get scared of the heat. Is it okay if we do a green roof? It'll be so cool and so much better. No. Oh, sorry. So suddenly we're all Canadian. Sorry. So let's not do that. Let's hold on a little more. Let's keep this tiger by the tail. Let's just keep them a little push. I'm going to give you a little quick story. I don't know if I have time for it. But we were doing a hospital in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You've all been there, right? No, you haven't? Don't go. You don't need to go. It's not on your bucket list. Anyway, our client is, he's the facility manager. He's been in the position for 25 years. He knows his hospital and his campus inside and out. He's wearing a sweater vest, right? He's good at his job. He's the guy that I walk up and he goes, just so you know, I hate LEED and I hate sustainability. Yeah, me too. Okay, let's forget about that. Let's talk about you. What's bothering you? And he says, you wouldn't understand. I said, try me. And he said, okay, we spend $96,000 a year plowing snow. And I go, yeah, so? It's Milwaukee. He said, it's $96,000 a year. In Milwaukee, that's like 5 employees or something that they could, that's a joke, it's only like 2 employees. The one guy got it. Only one guy got it. It's like, you know, he's like, that's money that we could use for operations. And I said, you know that big central utility plant that we're about to like throw $3 million at to hold it together with bubble gum and popsicle sticks? What if we don't do that? What if we instead put geothermal roots in the ground, we get free hot water from the ground, and we'll create snowmelt zones along all your parking lots, and every time snow's in the forecast, you flick a switch and you preheat the ground, and most of the snow doesn't stick. You can save most of that $96,000. Suddenly, Mr. Sweater Vest is now my best friend. Suddenly now he went from I hate sustainability to what else you got? Right? Why? Because I wasn't selling him on sustainability. I was solving his problem. That's kind of the key. And I think that's what we've forgotten is that you are the heroes of the story. You have the better option. So that means if we failed, it also means that we did it wrong. And that's hard to admit. Think about what you were trying to do. You were trying to sell science in America. Can you understand? You just take a beat to realize, in America, you really? To Americans? We don't agree on anything. And you wanted to sell them on climate science, the least sexy of all the sciences, in America. Did you ever post your opinion online ever? And then what do you just get? I don't know about you, I get waves of antipathy of, oh really? Am I? Really? Me? You're a what? Tell me, what is that? In America, you were going to do this to Americans. These people. Think about the value proposition that sustainability brought. Asking people for austerity, to do more with less. Bring your own damn bag. And by the way, we're in Portland where we all do it, right? You know, you go to New Seasons and they're like, where's your bag? I'm like, I'm sorry, right? I get it. Have you ever used a paper straw? It's a nightmare. It sticks to your lip. I was at a conference in Houston last week, and they gave me a bowl of vegan chili, and I'm stirring it with a biodegradable spoon. And I'm talking to people, you know, as I'm doing, like, hey, how are you? I think Alan was there. And I'm talking, and I pull the spoon out, and the spoon's gone, right? It's an awful experience. So you are climbing Mount Sustainability. You want to take your company with you to climb this mountain, and they are not excited about it. Why would they be with the paper straw pushers of the world? So my mantra for the last year has been, we are not here to sell the recipe. We're here to sell the brownie and not the recipe. And yet all of you are very, very good at selling the recipe. In fact, we have little meetings and we talk about, well, my recipe is brown sugar. What does yours have? Who gives a shit? We need to be selling the brownie and not the recipe. You've forgotten the important part, the benefit, right? I know that we do not all win if we have to become nerds. I know that it's not the case, but yet that seems to be what you've all been running towards for the last 20 years. I'll give you an example. I'm a big fan of Asian food and Mexican food. Which is better, brown rice or white rice? Yeah, I don't know either. See, that's a problem. I should know. Of all people, I should know, but I don't know because the science is so messed up and it gets lost in the nuances. And you all love the nuances. I tell my team that if you're getting into the nuances, you've already failed. You've already lost the narrative. You've lost the story game. Nuance equals death. Somebody write that down, right? If you look at sustainability, you would think that our goal was to get everybody excited about life cycle assessment. That was not our goal. Our goal was healthier buildings. But we forgot that. We wanted everybody to speak our language. That's why we failed. We should have been speaking their language. It's what I call death by Excel. And it's a hard way to go, trust me. Oh, my uncle died of that. Really? Thank you, 3 people that like that joke. And we've also forgotten how nature works and how it can work to our benefit. This is what my dad would call a thinker. You're not going to get this one right away. It's fine. And so we've reduced sustainability down to a game of substitution, really, where, you know, cheeseburgers are bad, so here's plant-based meat, but that's not meat. And leather's bad, so here's plant-based leather, but that's not leather. And we do it in our buildings of like, concrete's bad, but that's not concrete. Okay, and that's only going to do so much. If you're headed off a cliff going 80 miles an hour and you slow down to 40, that doesn't change the outcome. You're still going over. You got to turn the wheel. You got to go in a different direction. And if you do it in a Prius, it's not going to, I mean, you'll look good doing it, but it's not going to help. It doesn't change anything. So we need to chart a new course. And so that's what we've been trying to do at Canon. We're an architecture firm, a 110-year-old architecture firm that over the last decade has repositioned itself as an innovation firm that's structured around these 6 global ambitions. And my team and I are in charge of the first one, Planet 2100, and this is working. Right? Fortune magazine named us one of the top 50 to change the world just last month. We were the only design firm to do that. There was like yogurt companies and shoe companies and us. It was a weird list, but I love that, right? And so we just keep getting these awards. Planet Positive Award from Metropolis. Time magazine wrote about us. Newsweek wrote about us. Blah, blah, blah. It turns out that the world is in desperate need of a redesign, and specifically on 3 areas: food, transportation, why isn't this working? There we go, and buildings. And I'm an architect, so I focus on buildings. And so we try to use each project to advance this. We're not going for perfection. We don't have the time. We can't. We're going for progress over perfection. But I do know that if we can imagine better worlds, we can certainly build them. And so we have this strategy called Health for All that we're trying to do. And the idea really comes from these things that piss me off. And it starts with if just living near a golf course more than doubles your risk of Parkinson's disease because of the pesticides. In fact, in Pittsburgh, they closed down a coal-fired power plant, and the children's asthma rates improved because they weren't breathing those emissions. And so this is what really starts to upset me, the fact that the built environment is affecting the health of all of us on a macro and micro scale. And so if you look, the climate change crisis is really a health crisis. It's about $800 billion a year in health costs related to climate change and burning of fossil fuels just in the US alone. It's about 500,000 people that have died in the last year just from air pollution alone, not to mention 7 million worldwide. And so we could decarbonize the entire grid for free just from the health benefits. Just from the health benefits alone, we should be thinking this way, but we don't. It turns out that depending on where you live, your zip code is your largest determinant of your lifespan. Where you live determines how long you live, more so than genetics, more so than lifestyle. Your zip code is the largest determinant of social health. So along the top there, those are community health indicators. On the bottom, those are environmental determinants. These are symptoms. And so we built this simple AI tool that essentially tells us for any zip code which ones are poor. And I do this 5 minutes before a meeting, just to have talking points, essentially. And then on the right there, that's how the building itself could adapt to that. So if I'm selling a green roof, I'm not doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because it's addressing the walkability, air quality, noise pollution issues that this zip code has. And that changes the course of the conversation. And by the way, I can do them for anywhere, right? I do it for LA. It's easy. We just type in the zip code, really. We're selling the brownie and not the recipe. So across every division within all of your companies, there are opportunities here to do this in a bold way. And because we're selling the brownie, the outcomes are actually quite remarkable. Think about what a designer, a typically designer like me, has the power to do. We're able to lower blood pressure through design. We've known how to do it for decades. Think about this windowless box that they put us in here and how it's affecting you right now. So if we start to design by selling the brownie, that means that we can start to improve patient health outcomes in hospitals. We can improve student performance in schools. And we know how sensitive we are in terms of our operating conditions, and we can design down to this. In other words, I'm trying to do for health what we currently do for energy. And because we can measure this stuff down to the part per billion, we can now sense this in a really bold way. I wanted to show you this just because it's brand new. This is from Kohler. This thing clips onto your toilet and scans your pee and poo and tells you how healthy you are. That's not a joke. That's a real thing. I want to buy one, but it's like $500, and I can't justify it in my head yet. But one of you please buy it and invite me over to your house, basically. There's a whole video. I want to show you the video. Here's the thing. We'll have a meal. It'll be fun. Here's the thing. So there's now 3 legs of this stool, right? On the specification side, we can then be smarter about what we choose. Then we can put in these ubiquitous cheap IAQ sensors everywhere to track this stuff. But then the third part, and the part that everybody's missing, is you now have to use that data in a bold way. And so what we've been doing is, what do you use the sensors for? All right, and there's lots of reasons why to do it. So we show this to clients of here's why we're putting these sensors in, here's why you're paying for it. The last thing I want to show you is this. How am I doing on time? Oh, good. My mindset has really shifted from a traditional sustainability model of trying to fix the world one building at a time into this regenerative, holistic model in a bold way. And the way that I think of it is we're moving from aspiration of a kind of a goal-setting mindset into perspiration, where we roll up our sleeves and the site actually does some work and does something. The other way to look at it is this paradigm shift from the old cut, slash, and burn method of construction into this regenerative, grow, regenerate, breathe mindset. And so we've been building out this kind of framework around regeneration across all of our projects, which really, it was inspired in part by Pete Munoz, who's sitting in the back there. You should all shake his hand, because he loves people. No, I'm just kidding. He's a good guy. Yeah. So anyway, but it was really inspired by a lot of the work that Pete and Biohabitats has been doing in a way. So I want to show you these. These are not mine. I just like showing these. This is the work of Patrick Blanc in France. This is in Provence. The top is the before, the bottom is the after. 650 square meters of concrete into 650 square meters of biodiversity. This is Plastic Catalonia. Paris has been undergoing a transformation. I don't know if you've been there in the last few years. It's kind of wild. That's how I remember it when I saw it. This is what it looks like now, 4,000 square meters of biodiversity. This is, if you think, well, the Europeans have it all dialed in, this is Lancaster, California, the armpit of eastern LA, essentially, right? For a $12 million investment, they've gotten, what is it, like $275 million in economic development by transforming these 9 blocks into a boulevard that they call the boulevard. And then, of course, this is my favorite. This is in Utrecht. I just saw this over the summer. This looks like Boston to me. This is actually in the Netherlands. That's the before, and then this is the after. They recanaled it, if that can be a verb, I guess. And then, of course, all of you know Portland. That's Tanner Springs before, a rail yard, and Tanner Springs after, a living machine. It's a wastewater treatment plant that's disguised as a park. So we then started to use these precedents on scale with our clients. So we're doing a regenerative campus for a large client, a biotech client in South San Francisco. You could figure out who. But the mantra is a regenerative, nature-positive campus where all users can thrive. That sounds beautiful, right? Well, when we first started figuring out, well, how do we measure that? The metrics were all very complicated. And our clients said, look, I'm not going to measure this. I mean, once you leave, we're not going to track any of this stuff. And I said, okay, what do you want to track? And we started thinking about what are the metrics we could track that an 8-year-old could understand. So I'm going to show you a few of them. The first one is my favorite. It's number of butterflies. And there's only 3 answers. Are there none, some, or lots? Because nobody's going to count butterflies. That's insane, right? So if you send a kid out and go, how many butterflies are out there? And he goes, oh, man, there's lots. That means our pollinator pathways are working, our hydrological systems are working, our hardscape is working. Right? It means a lot of complex things are working that are now benefiting with this resultant indicator. One of the other ones is number of outdoor meetings. There we go. None, some, or lots. How many outdoor meetings did you have last year? And if we do that, that means the furniture that we've picked out is comfortable. It feels somewhat thermally comfortable. It's acoustically private enough that you can have a meeting. There's not enough glare, there's not too much glare on your screen. You can sit and be private, but also not be hidden. Right? A lot of complex design ideas result in this other indicator. And then my favorite, this was a high school we did outside of Pittsburgh. This was the decibel level of laughter coming from the playground. None, some, or lots. And if you hear lots of laughter, that means the hardscape plan is working, the furniture and equipment that we picked out is welcoming, the kids feel safe enough to play, the adults feel safe enough to let them play. And we showed this to our client, Children's Hospital in Orange County, and they said, we want to use that for the hallway. And I said, why? And they said, because everybody coming to the hospital is terrified. And if they hear laughter as they come in, that would completely transform how they feel. We're selling the brownie and not the recipe. Do you understand? That client also had never done a sustainability plan before, so then we did their first sustainability plan for them. This was the same client that 4 years ago said to me, I hate sustainability and I hate LEED, because they all say it to me, right? So I get it. That's the transformation that we need. Because remember, we failed, so we need to overdo that. This is just some of the 50 illustrative indicators that we'd use for clients. And they're weird, man. They're supposed to be weird because they're things that an 8-year-old can understand. That's the whole idea of it. All right, I want to show you this last thing. The mindset shift is one from an old engineering mindset into essentially a biological mindset. And what it takes is kind of putting that in your brain and making it the paradigm shift that we need. And really, we only really fail here from a lack of imagination. So because of that, I invite you all to remain curious. If you want these slides, the group has them, of course, but you can also text the word green to that number. That's not my cell phone number. Don't send me weird pictures of your junk. I won't get it anyway if you do. If you want to send your junk, I'll give you my card. But send the word green to that number. Otherwise, thank you for having me, and I think I'm right on time. Thank you.